Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Welcome to this episode of the Peace and Possibilities podcast, everyone. I want to do a little quick shameless plug of my beautiful book that's here with these flowers from my lovely husband. And that's a copy of my book that just got released last week. And it's a #1 bestseller on Amazon already. So there it is. Go and get it if you haven't already. So I just wanted to give a shout out for myself. There we go. Okay, shameless plug over. So my guests this week are Jim Elliot and Tinamarie Hernandez, and they are part of the Diveheart Foundation. And Jim, I don't know if I told you this, but I actually saw your I have seen your organization's like collateral and bulletins and in magazines over the course of my life traveling and in medical buildings and stuff like that. I've always seen this Diveheart. I've seen your story on websites and stuff before. So I was always intrigued by it. My dad loved to scuba dive. He passed away several years ago, but he was a big scuba diver at heart. And it makes me feel close to him when I see and hear your stories for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe we'll get to that. So I saw your organization recently again, and I'm like, I'm going to reach out to him now. I may have done this years ago, but I didn't have a podcast years ago. So now I get to choose, who gets to be on my podcast. And I was like, he sounds like the perfect guy for the podcast. So you and Tinamarie graciously said, yes, we'll be on it. So you guys are here today. Tell everyone about the foundation and how you guys, the two of you, got to where you are today. Like, did you say, one day I'm going to start a foundation? How did it work?
Well, technically, we're a 501c3. So we're a charity that people can give to, foundations can give to. So we're really, I like the name foundation.
Tell me what.
I was a part of a group that guided blind skiers years ago, and they had foundation in the end. I said, oh, that sounds cool. So when our friend who's an attorney said, I'll do all your 501c3 incorporation pro bono, I created the Diveheart Foundation. And but technically we're a 501c3. It's a charity, but do you want to?
We collect. Yeah. We collect money, and then we do divvy it out, but it's not like we give it to people. We assist people when they want to go on a trip or go training or whatever. But I discovered Diveheart. Jim founded it 20 years ago this year. April 30th is our 20th birthday. And I found Diveheart 10 years in. So when they were celebrating their 10th anniversary, I met him at an alumni event for Northern Illinois, and we both worked for the newspaper. So it was actually an alumni event for the newspaper, The Star. And
at different times, she'll tell you.
Yeah, we went to way different times.
Yeah. Not same class.
I thought maybe we were doing different, like the same work, just at the same time. So I wasn't sure.
That is it, right?
So she's the editor, I'm the writer. So we kind of, it's those, like she said, yin and yang earlier. We're kind of, sometimes fighting, but sometimes really our skill sets are so different that we complement each other too. So.
Yes.
Right. And yes, I'll come back to that. But so I was at a point in my career where I was kind of questioning, do I have, people are saying, oh, your skill set. I'm like, do I have a skill set? Do I know what to offer people or what I'm offering people if I were to get fired or want to leave my job? Yeah. I'm in the business consulting world. So I've been working for Accenture for the past 20, almost 24 years. So I love my company, but there's scary times where you're not quite sure if you're going to stay there or not. And when I met Jim, he needed some assistance. And so I started volunteering, and everything I was coming up with really wasn't me coming up with a new idea, but I was just like, well, have you guys tried this? And they're like, oh, that's brilliant. And
Yeah.
oh, how about we try this? And they're like, that's great, and so I was like, maybe I do have some business acumen, skill set, right? So it made me feel good because I was assisting and really making a difference. And they felt good because they're like, we have a volunteer who's willing to give their time and everything. So it became Diveheart now is what I would like to do when I grow up. And I've been their executive director since 2014, but I'm really hoping that at some point I will have one job, and that will be Diveheart. So, you're always evolving. You're not going to have one single career. And I like the idea that what I was doing really has helped me move into what I hope will see me through till the end of my working days.
Yeah, we love people from Accenture, because they're very sharp, and Tinamarie brought on a bunch of people to volunteer for us. So I'm like, thank you very much. You know what I mean?
There's always, and to go with your comment, Tinamarie, before, like, do I have a skill set? Yes, everyone does. Even when they're 10 years old, they do. When they're 8, they do. And you were in consulting and you still didn't even see yourself with a skill set. It's like, of course you do. There's always something you can offer that someone else isn't necessarily good at or doesn't like to do or whatever it is. And that's the beauty of coming together like you guys did and say, okay, you have this awesome mission, Jim, and you created this and you want to see it obviously thrive and do really well. And there are people around you that want you to see it thrive and do really well. And they can offer you ways to do that you hadn't thought of before. Not because you're not brilliant yourself, but it's like, oh, I'm doing it this way. And oh, there's a better way to do it, or I could do it easier, whatever. Like, of course you'd welcome that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to Tinamarie's situation because I was in the media business for decades, and I was with the Chicago Tribune newspaper, and then I went to WGN Radio, and then I helped start up a TV station for the company. And I was always all in. I'm the kind of guy that I'm Mr. Tribune, I'm Mr. WGN, and my friends would see me coming, they go, "Oh, here comes Mr. Tribune," and I would just like. I was always selling and stuff. I started out as a writer and journalist, and then kind of got into marketing and advertising. And God, it was off to the races then. And it's really helped us in Diveheart. But I understand what it feels like to get kind of lost your identity, because for a while I was like, who am I? I mean, I'm Mr. Tribune, I'm Mr. W, whatever. And I really needed to make a change. And
why did you, what made you say, like, this is the thing I want to start or do? What was?
Well, it's interesting. My dad's a disabled vet, so I grew up around people with disabilities, and one of my good friends had cerebral palsy, and I would walk into school so he wouldn't get beat up. And then my oldest daughter was born blind, so I got involved in a blind ski group, and I saw the blind skiing turn people's lives around. So this is like in the mid 80s. So I've been guiding and teaching blind skiers for decades. And I'm going, I've been diving since college because I thought if I ever meet Jacques Cousteau, I better know how to scuba dive, right? People under 40 probably won't know who that is. Right?
Look it up.
But long story short is I'm brainstorming in my mind about how, wow, if skiing can do this and you can only ski at certain times of the year in certain places in the world, what can diving do? Because all you need is a swimming pool. And I'm thinking, get a guy out of a wheelchair, get him standing up underwater. And the thrill for me is when they look down and go, oh my God, I'm standing up for the first time since my injury, or the first time in my life, if I was born with cerebral palsy and I spent my whole life in a wheelchair. So that kind of is the thrill for me.
And I think, he's shared with me before that in starting Diveheart, he had, as he was saying, he's now Mr. Diveheart. So don't think that part of his personality is right. It is not. But what I think the difference now is he is working for others. It's so much of a service versus working for someone to make more money or make more money for himself, which I don't imagine you were ever that type of guy, but it was killing him in the business world. He was having stress related, anxiety and all of that type of stuff. And you get to a point where there's got to be a better way, right? And here you're talking about peace, right? For him, finding that peace was about letting go of the traditional work and saying, I'm going to now live to serve others. And I really think we've talked about it, it's kind of saved him. We think he's going to live longer this way, but
let me guess, you're healthier, right?
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every
For sure.
part, every aspect,
Yeah.
really. He moves more now physically. I don't, because I still do a lot of the, like, I pay the bills and I, do a lot of the computer work.
Yeah.
My gift to myself is always when I'm able to do more of the physical stuff, or the stuff in the pool and things like that, or go on one of the trips. That's where I pay myself back with those small pleasures.
Yeah, the mantra for me at one point was return on stockholders' investment, right? And when you're in advertising and all that stuff, that's what you're doing. You're raising your family, and it's 100% commission and all that. And but now I don't draw salary, so I walked away from a successful career, and I don't draw salary, and I donate all my training income back to Diveheart. And I tell you what, the saying you cannot give without receiving is like huge. I say it to myself, not every day, but frequently. I go, wow. I'll look up and just go, really?
Wow, that's awesome.
Things are going good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is a great segue to my next question, because Tinamarie, you're still in the business world, and Jim, you're obviously, talking to business people all the time to help your organization, do better and reach more people. What has kept you, Tinamarie, sane and peaceful, content along the way as you're volunteering and taking all your extra time outside of your regular job to do this? And Jim, you too, like, what kept you from getting super sick when you were so stressed out with your other jobs before you did this, and now that you're doing this, like, every day? What do you what are some of the things that you either practice or think about, or mantras that you live by that keep you peaceful and content every day?
For me, before I had Diveheart, I was always doing something. I would throw myself into, I like to be creative. Creativity kind of is what keeps me grounded. So, or physical. So like in college, I was a crazy person, and I went on a full scholarship. So I thought, great, this is an excuse for me to take every class I've ever wanted to take. So I would take like 21 hours each semester, right? Which is crazy, but I loved it. And I would swim a mile a day in the morning. That by far is what kept me sane through all those years. And then afterwards, I've done different things. I got into creating, like, I would make greeting cards, and I would do scrapbooking. I'm really into photography. And my dad would tease me. He's like, what are you going to do next? Like stained glass windows? And I'm like, don't tap me, right? But when I found Diveheart, what's beautiful is I also love to learn, and learning something new for me really, it just makes me so excited to do that. So with Diveheart, I'm learning something all the time. Well, we need to know how this works. Okay, let me look it up. We need to figure out how to do, edit a video and create something that we can turn in. All right, let me do that. What's really nice is now, the older we get and the more known we get, we meet people that are willing to help us, that's their profession. So I do a little bit less of that, but I still really like it. I really like to learn new things. And that's what keeps me going. I mean, the idea that we're moving forward, I was telling Jim, I said, what 2021 is for me is leveling up. We've worked very hard to get where we're going, and now I want to just continue. I'm a process improvement person in my other life. Yeah. So I'm always like, how do we make it better? Even if something went wonderfully, how do we make it better the next time? What are the tweaks we can do to either make it a better experience for the participant, or a better experience for the volunteer, or something different and fun. Now he comes up with all wackadoodle ideas, which I call wackadoodle kind of tongue in cheek, because a lot of the times they come out so brilliantly that but he's the idea guy or the sales guy, and I'm the implementer. Okay. So it kind of works in that way as well. So we kind of work together well that way. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you said you like to continue learning, because it reminded me of a story that I used to tell, and I kind of forgot about it until right now, where I put myself through college really basically because I didn't want my parents telling me what kind of grades I should get. So that tells you that I'm very independent that way. And I was in a psychology class, I want to say, and there was this 80-year-old guy who came in on a cane, and he sat down next to me. And I'm like my first year in college, junior college. And I went, what are you doing here? I go, you don't have to be in college. Why? I have to be here. Right. He's like, he says, I love learning. I always want to continue to learn my whole life. It keeps you young. And we spent that whole quarter talking about learning and all that. I learned a lot about him. And
Wow.
so I kind of adopted that. And then, things like when I get up in the morning and I really don't want to go to work, I don't want to do, when I just want to stay in bed, I go, 90% of success is showing up, and I show up. And I'm a big lemons to lemonade guy, right? I think about that every day. I try not to focus at all on negative stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, just get up, get into work, and something will happen that will be positive, right? And you'll see that, and you'll see the opportunity in what happens, and you'll take advantage of that opportunity. And if you have the right perspective, right, and you pursue that, you'll do great things.
Right. And I've learned a lot from him. And one of my other fellow Accenture, she got to retire, but I'm still waiting. But anyway, that we've learned from Jim, and we kid about it, but he's always telling us it's all going to work out. So when she and I, we tend to freak out before disaster ensues, right? But we're like ready for disaster. And I just tell myself now, I'm like, everything's going to work out. And she does the same thing. And she goes, damn if that doesn't work every time.
Right.
But it is something to help you. If you can teach yourself that you don't want to not be unprepared, that's not the point. But the point is, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. It might not be what you thought it was going to be, but that's the people we're working with, right? A lot of the people we work with, life isn't what they thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. Something changed, or something never occurred, or, so it's all going to be all right. It's all going to work out in the end is a wonderful saying that I have to repeat to myself a lot.
Yeah, it's a simple saying. It's obviously true. And also, freaking out usually doesn't get you a better result. Like, so everyone would say, like, so we can be super prepared. Like you said, of course you have to be prepared and learn and all of that, be ready. But freaking out never gets you a better result. It usually gets you more stress, physically and mentally, of course. And then it usually end up making mistakes because you're so afraid of something going wrong that you do. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I love such simple words of wisdom, but really showing up, like you said, Jim, 90% of life is showing up and just going, and something good's going to happen. And guess what? When you tell yourself that every day, and I have a chapter in my book about this, like of being grateful and being positive, obviously. And it's just, it's life. You go there and you expect something good to happen. Something good's going to happen. It's just like, expecting something bad to happen. See, I told you this is what's going to happen. You're creating it. You're creating your reality. You're in charge of it. Doesn't feel like you are, but you always have a choice to react a certain way. You always have that choice, no matter how crazy things are going. That's completely in your control, and then you're going to feel better. And I love that you're a swimmer too, Tinamarie. I used to be on swim team. My siblings and I all swam when we were younger. It's like my parents would get out the little park district book and be like, pick some stuff to go to, and everyone was swimming. So we're like, I guess we'll be swimmers too. So we grew up swimming.
I was a competitive swimmer from like 5th grade through sophomore year in high school. I transferred to a different high school that didn't have a swim team, but swimming has always been my go-to. And you talk to yourself, you're doing laps, it's rhythmic. I remember singing to myself a lot, and it's a great activity.
Yeah, I think I want to get back into it in the summer. I love it. We just moved to a place that has a pool, so I think I'm going to get back into it because, like you said, it's just all good things in there.
And what a cool thing about what we do is we use zero gravity, and we call it inner space instead of outer space, right? Yeah. There's a lot of synergy between astronauts and aquanauts, right? Mm-hmm. We get people in the water, and now they're totally weightless, and they might be confined to a chair potentially on land or have mobility issues. But underwater, when we put the gear on people, I've had people with no arms and no legs that I take in the water, and we put the gear on them. I teach them how to use their breathing. And this in and of itself really is a therapy too, where I teach you to use, the first thing I do, and Tinamarie will tell you, when I get somebody in the water, I'll go, I want you to think about taking a full breath. And then I want you to think about taking percentages of a breath. Half, quarter, And then exhalation, the same thing. And sometimes you have even more. So when you can push a little bit more out, or you can suck a little bit more in. And in diving, that is your up and down movement. So once we get you weighted properly, that breathing is everything, and getting people, and it creates kind of a Zen environment. And this girl with no arms and no legs, I taught her how to hover motionless, and she's controlling her breathing, and she's hovering there in the ocean, and we're taking pictures of her and stuff. And when we looked at the pictures, it's like, wow, you really can't tell that she has a disability.
She's just really, really well trimmed out.
Because if you're angled in the water a certain way and your legs are behind you, or your arms are behind you, you could look like you have no arms. So really, it's very cool what we do.
And Jim mentioned confinement, but people get confined in their heads too, right?
Yeah.
And we work with people on the autism spectrum. We work with people with a lot of anxiety or PTSD, and what we get there, what the feedback we get is, I go underwater and I come back and my head's clearer, right? So that confinement, if you think about the mental confinement, also is released when you do the diving.
Gosh, what did that one girl you were just saying the story about, Jim? What did she say when she came back up out of the water and she realized that she was controlling all that? Like, what was her first feedback?
She was blown away. I mean, she's like, oh my God, this is incredible. We had a guy, there's a news piece that we had, this CNN did called The Great Big Story. And he was 15 years in a wheelchair and went diving with us, and CNN's filming him. And he says, oh my God, imagine 15 years in a wheelchair and I'm standing now underwater. And he raised, his hands were impaired, but he raised his hands above his head and he goes, at the end, it's me again. And I get choked up every time I hear it. Yeah, it's
great.
So powerful.
It's like the gift, like you said, what you're doing for people, the gift you're giving them is like giving you so much more back because of the experiences you get to live through their eyes and their words and their feelings. So cool.
And I tell people it's not about scuba diving, and I really mean that. It's about, here I go again, right? It's this unrealized human potential that exists in people with disabilities. And we create a paradigm shift. So now it's not Johnny in a wheelchair anymore. It's Johnny the scuba diver. Johnny goes, whoa, dude, I'm a scuba diver. I could do anything, right? And then he goes on and he does other things in his life. And he may never get in the water again with us, but he has confidence now. Right, exactly. And we try to point him towards becoming good stewards of the environment. So we do coral reef restoration with veterans with disabilities and university medical centers. And we've had, we have an instructor who is a young girl. We started when she was 13 in a Shriners Hospital therapy pool. Now she's a scuba instructor.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
And her parents still go on trips with us without her.
Without her.
They just want to go and meet more people and
they just
help.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be around that. That's awesome. Okay. Gosh, it's so fascinating. We probably could do like several parts of the conversations like this. So tell me about, so whether you're talking to a 22-year-old that just graduated from college, or someone, like me, who's 51 years old and thinking about using their strengths, like you said, Tinamarie, in the beginning, what skill sets do I have? What strengths do I have? What would you tell people if they don't think they have any, or they know they're in a place where they aren't meant to be? They're at a job they're not meant to be, they're stressed out, they want to do something different. What advice would you have for them? What's the one thing you would tell them to give them?
I remember when I was younger, when we were early in our careers, and I had a really close friend, and he's awesome at everything. That he was one of those guys, right? It works out. And he got fired, and he calls me and he's like, what am I going to do? Like, I see it. Well, he called me before he got fired. He's like, I see it coming. He was miserable. And I said, you don't even like this job. He's like, I know, but I'm married. And I go, look, the best thing that can happen to you is that they fire you. You will figure something else out. You're going to, but now it won't be your decision. It won't be your decision to stay with the money or stay. Cause I have a son who's 25. And I encourage him. I'm like, don't chase the money right now. Chase what you want to do, because when you start making the money, it's harder to leave it. It really is. And it's not about being greedy, and it's not about being, all consuming in that aspect, but it's hard because when you lose it, you have to readjust your life in certain ways that aren't the best sometimes. Right. So anyway, he got fired, and we go back to that story over and over again because he's just like, it was the best thing to happen to me. He went in a different direction. He became a life coach. He has his own podcast now for, he helps develop, executives and their teams. And, for someone who's 22, I'm just like, just go for it. If you can find that job that you think isn't going to make you the best money right now, but it's going to help you get there later, do it now. Yeah. Take your chances now. Now's the time. If you don't have to worry about anybody but yourself, especially. Yeah. It's harder too when you start getting a family and when you have people that are relying on you. That's what happened to me. And, I'm not an executive at the company I'm at because I chose the path that supported myself and my family, right? I needed to take care of my son. I needed to take care of myself. So I couldn't do the straight up the ladder. Yeah. It was too much. It's asking too much of me. I had to take too much of myself in a different direction. Yeah. Am I happy about that? Yes, because now my other job, as much as I love it, still is kind of the income. Yeah. And the Diveheart is feeding my soul. Yeah. So one feeds my body, the other feeds my soul. It helps pay the bills. The other one's paying me forward. It's, yeah. And it's wonderful to have that both in my life. And, I would again encourage people, find that balance as soon as you can, that.
Jim, what would you say?
Well, I'm surprised that Tina's friend who has a podcast hasn't done an interview with us yet.
I know, I'm working on it.
I think what I was listening to what Tinamarie was saying, and I think that we save ourselves a lot of time and energy, both physical, mental, emotional, when we realize that there are things we can control and things we can't control. And when we start fretting about the things we can't control or haven't happened, we burn a lot of mental time and energy. And when we just go, here's what I can do right now, and here's what I can't do. And I'm going to stay in that fairway, and I'm going to focus on what I can control. And then I'm going to just start the process, right? I'm going to just start doing one thing. I'm going to finish the set. I'm going to finish the play. I'm going to finish, using sports terminologies, but I'm going to finish writing this paper. I'm in a funk right now. I don't feel like it. Maybe I got to step away for a minute, but I'll come back and I'll finish that paper. And if I do one thing a day, I think one of the big billionaires back in the 1800s was searching for what to do. They were going to give somebody a bunch of money if they came up with a great idea. And somebody came up and said, do one thing a day, but finish it, get it done, right? So I keep the process in mind. I keep doing this little piece and this little piece and putting bricks really on top of each other. And what you do by doing that is you build muscle memory, right? So now you did something, you had an obstacle, you overcame it, you pivoted or whatever. That's a popular word nowadays with COVID, right? Yeah. We call it adapting, but you adapt and you pivot and then you go forward and you look up and you go, I did it. We came through this nightmare or challenge. We thought we were going to lose everything. Yeah. And we came past that. And then you start putting those arrows in your quiver. And now you've got an arsenal as you go forward, right?
Yeah. You have your building because you were building it with bricks. And now you have this little, a container for all your lessons. Yeah.
We had a volunteer tell us the story once, and Jim and I had no idea that this is what had happened with him, but he is an IT guy and he started volunteering for us, still with us, amazing man. But we went and we took him out to dinner one day and he goes, you guys know how I got to you, right? And we're like, no, we have no clue, because most of the time we don't have a clue how our volunteers find us. But he found us when he had been laid off and he was depressed. And he had just found out that his son was on the autism spectrum. So he was like sitting there going, my life has just unraveled, right, to me. And for some reason, he decided he was going to try and volunteer. And he found us And what we were asking him to do is, and we still do, we say, we have this news piece, or we have this video, we have this story. Can you go capture it off of the internet and help us post it to our website? Well, he started looking and watching the stories and reading the stories. And he said, these are amazing. And if these people can overcome these challenges, I can overcome my challenge. And he said he got a better job, and he got a better attitude about his son and helping his son out. Mm-hmm. And when his son was old enough, because 10 years old is what we ask people to be, he started diving with us and has gone diving with us a number of times. But we had no idea. And he's like, it turned me around. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't us, it's the people we work with, and it's the stories mm-hmm. that we're able to gather and share. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things Jim's always telling people is like, just share our stories. Share our stories. It's good, it'll help somebody else out.
It's going to inspire someone for sure. Yeah. I can't wait to hear more about the stories. I already have an idea for my husband, for you guys too. So I mean, it's an awesome organization. Obviously you guys are, it's all in your hearts. You can see that. And it's awesome what you're doing. And I can't wait to share more about it. I wish I would have put a little bit of it in my book. So maybe my next book I'll be putting in.
I like this story. Yes. When we go on a trip, I tell everybody it's all about adapting. Check your egos at the door. Yeah. But it's all about branding, which is why we're these. Yeah. You have to adapt.
Yeah. I like the word adapt better than pivot as well. I think everyone just says pivot just to be, I don't even know what the word is. They just say pivot because they think it's the right word to say. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? I like it better. Yeah. So I have there's two questions I want to ask. I'll let you guys choose which one you want to answer. Either one of you can answer either one. So you can either answer the question, what do you wish you'd learned earlier in your career or your life? Or mm-hmm. what's the greatest gift you offer the world every day?
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to go first?
No.
Oh, she's totally bailing. What do I wish I had learned? I wasn't, my parents didn't go to college. They did go to junior college later and got technical, like air conditioning, but I didn't have the pedigree that way. You know what I mean? I didn't have mentors. My dad was from Alabama. My mom's from Chicago. They never went to, I don't even know if my mom finished high school. So not having that was tough in a way, but it also was good in a way, because I realized I had to be that person. You know what I mean? It helped me excel that way. So early on, that was a regret that I had. And I was an only child for 10 years, and my sister came along, and there were times I grew up in a changing neighborhood. So I used to have to run home so I wouldn't get beat up at times, or I would have to stand there and say, you'll probably beat me up, but you're going to be in a fight. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where I wish I had an older brother at times. Yeah. And then the last question you asked was
the greatest gift you offer the world every day.
Oh, I just think
his positivity, period, the end.
Yeah, you guys should answer for each other. I like that. I like that. That's better because you don't know the gift you're giving every day. I love that.
I tease him sometimes because he says, I tell him, I say, you start every day fresh. He does not carry grudges. He does not carry yesterday on his back. Every day is started, and he's positive. Because it took me a while. It took me a few years to figure out. I'm like, how the heck can he be so happy every day? And what it is he doesn't bring yesterday with him, and he doesn't worry so much about tomorrow. When I first met him, he didn't like to plan more than 3 months ahead. And I'm like, okay, we need to fix this a little bit. I understand where you're going.
Says the planner.
The planner.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, and I've learned I'm not as good as he is at it. But that's what you definitely. Yeah. That's the biggest gift.
What's Tinamarie's gift?
Oh, what's her gifts?
Yeah.
She is, she's opposite me, which is great, right? Sometimes, because I get a little Willy Wonka kind of crazy, and she'll reel me in, and one thing I really admire about Tinamarie is that she is all about her people. We only have a few part-time people, but she will hold my feet to the fire and go, you are not asking that person to do that on a Saturday, because they don't work, even though you know, don't do it, don't push. And it's like, I have to like go, okay, respect, you know, because I'm always asking people to do stuff. You know what I mean? You know, we have people that take care of our cars, and our lawyers do things pro bono, and I have no problem. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? And you got to remember that in life, right? So I'm always asking, and consequently, we find some really cool stuff. But Tinamarie is very good about keeping me, you know, mindful, really, of a person's space and respecting that space. So she's very good at that, and very good, like she says, about thinking forward. And you know, where sometimes I'm like a cowboy, shooting from the hip all the time. And
you need someone to really win. That's good. It's good. It's good.
The combination is really worked out.
You need both, because she was always thinking of, she wouldn't be thinking about all the possibilities that you're thinking of. She would just be thinking of, how do we grow everything, but not like the big possibilities. So you need the big creative thinkers, and like, what if, and then someone to say, here's how, like you said, team, right?
Yeah, like she plans the mission, and I jump from the plane and hit the ground with the parachute and make it happen. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Tinamarie, what would you say? Is there anything you wish you would have learned a little earlier in your life or career?
Let's see. What would I have liked to have learned? You know, people are going to think that this is untrue of me, but I would have liked to, you know, trust yourself a little bit more. You know, I've always liked to travel. I've always liked to do things, but it took me a while to really go, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for me, you know, not for anybody else, but because this is what makes me feel good. I went on a trip for 70 days, solo travel. You know, I went Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, and I was like, I'm sick and tired of waiting for someone to come with me. You know, I'm going to go and do it. And it was one of the best freeing things I've ever done for myself, you know.
That's awesome.
And I love traveling with people, right? I love traveling with people too. But, you know, and I've always been a learner. I took my son to all 50 states before he went off on his own, you know, and so that's never stopped. But, you know, trusting yourself and just doing some stuff for yourself is always good.
I love that. I'm going to read this. I don't normally do this, but I actually wrote it at the end of my book. What you just said, so this is the conclusion of my book. It's like the last 3 sentences of my book. And I totally believe what you're saying, Tinamarie. That's why I'm reading it, because like the whole trust yourself. You have so much wisdom inside of you. Seeking it elsewhere is sensible, but not necessarily required. Use these 8 secrets every day and do whatever it takes to accumulate your own wisdom and never stop learning or growing. I wrote that because I'm like you, Jim, where I didn't have a lot of mentors in my life. My parents, I paid for my own college. It was like, we have a big family. They didn't have time to take care of anyone. I read all about it. But my point in sharing that is that I wrote this book for me at 22 and me now at 50 saying like, you can do it. And here's your opportunity. And to trust yourself and to figure things out and help other people, help yourself figure things out. And then you'll have the wisdom to share, but trust yourself. You have way more wisdom and power than I think anyone's ever really told they have growing up. I mean, some people had incredible parents and they believe this since the day they were born. Kudos to them and those parents. But there's more people, I think, that don't believe or don't know and just think, oh, I'll just do this. And they just, it's here. It's like that Wizard of Oz thing, right?
Right. Yeah. And they talk themselves out of, like, one of the things I shared with my son, which I was surprised, he like runs with stuff. It's awesome. But anyway, and I think what I would also tell someone who might be in their early 20s or just starting out is what you don't realize at 22 is how much you and I and Jim at 50, early 50s, early 40s want to help people their age. And they don't, if they don't ask, they don't get. But, you know, that is something I've always shared with them. I said, people want to help you. Don't convince yourself otherwise. If they can't, then they can't, but always ask. And you'll find out very surprisingly how many times you're going to get that lift up. You're going to get a job offer that you never thought you were going to get because, you know, so you mentioned it to somebody and they're like, oh, I know somebody there. I can help you with.
You don't ever know.
And if
I
I
tell
could,
my sons the same thing. It's like all you can do is ask, and you don't have to. I'm not saying be greedy and ask for favors all the time, but hey, I was wondering, just like with this podcast, I ask people all the time that I admire and I think love what they do to come on. No one, very, very rarely people say no, and it's really just because they're too busy probably doing it for other people. Almost always people are like, I'm thrilled. I can't wait to talk about what I do because number one, I love it. Number two, I can't wait to show other people how I did it so they can do it sooner. People want to help. Most people really do want to help others, no matter what their age. And why wouldn't they share their wisdom so that other people can help figure it out sooner? That's why I'm doing the podcast. That's why I wrote the book.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that if no matter what your day is like, if you can give back some percent, it's going to come back to you. It's good karma. It's just going to make your life better. We thought we were going to be, I really only anticipated being like the blind ski group I was with. I thought I was going to be like doing a couple some pool programs, going to the quarry once in a while when it's warm, and doing a trip, one or maybe 2 trips a year.
Yeah.
And during COVID, we pushed 11 trips and 200 pool programs just in the US down the road, and we have thriving programs in Malaysia and all over the world. So and it becomes, it just continues to snowball. It's amazing.
It's possible because you thought about how you could do it differently everyone's in the same situation right now in the entire world. I was telling my 18-year-old this when all this was happening last summer. Like, this sucks, of course it sucks. It sucks for everyone. Like, it sucks for other people worse because some people can't see, very simple things like that. I always go back to, like, listen, you don't have it so bad, kid. But the bottom line is the entire planet is in the same situation. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to complain about it every day? Are you going to feel like crap? Is that going to make you feel better? No. Are you going to say all the things that aren't working? That's also not going to make you feel any better. What can you do differently to keep moving yourself, like you say, Tinamarie, going forward? What can you do to continue your mission? What can you do to stay positive? Like, they're all of those same things that we've been doing every day before this happened are the exact same things we can be doing now. The good news is, if you're already doing it before the shit hits the fan, you're going to be in such a better position because, to me, it was like a blip. And I don't mean like it hasn't affected me. I'm a social person. I want to be around other people, but for the most part, it didn't really change my life. I get up and do the same things every day. I talk to amazing people, and I write, and I talk about my workshops, and all of that. It's like, I say something I'm grateful for every day. I meditate, like all the things, exercise that keep you sane throughout when everything's perfect are the same things you're going to need when everything goes wrong. So
that muscle memory that he was saying.
Yeah.
And we didn't think that we were going to be spending our summer doing farmers markets, but really, yes, we were able to get some donations over the summer with that. But even just this last weekend when we did Mardi Gras under the sea, where we got paid was in seeing the smiles and the kids that were all excited and dancing, or being able to give the parents were like, oh, this is cool. And we're able to do it. But that, they know we're here, right? We're part of the community. And that was our big push because we couldn't do a lot more. And I what you're doing. Yeah. And I think, I love the gratitude aspect as well. I kind of didn't realize, gratitude's a thing, but I get all crazy. I have a niece, and I had seen, what was it, that documentary about the internet, the social dilemma.
Yes, I saw it.
So she's right there in that right beginning spot. And I just see her as this sweet little flower that's going to get crushed, right? And which she isn't. She's wonderful. But for Christmas, I said, I know what I'm going to do. And I gave her, I just gave her a book that she could write in, and she's very artistic. And I said, here's what I'm asking you to do. Every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Awesome. Just do it every day. If you have a day that you can't think of 3 things, I want you to call me. And she's like, why do you need me to call you? I said, because I'm going to help you think of them. Right. And it was my way of saying, you have somebody to always remind you that there's something for you to be grateful for. And then I read this article where it's like, if you can teach that to yourself or others, your mental health is going to be so much better. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that. Makes sense. But that's great. I have a whole chapter of it because it changes. It's just like meditation. It changes your body chemistry. There's a study I quote in my book about, literally, they took people's blood before a workshop,
And then he had them do these grateful and gratitude exercises throughout the weekend with nothing else being, everything else being the same, just the gratitude was different. And the levels in their, it's a protein that he tested, I forget the name of it, but it went up by like 50%. Just, I mean, it's just, it was irrefutable. So
we're human, right?
So yeah, it's so important. All right, I want to make sure that everyone gets to know, like, first of all, how can they, what do you need? Volunteers, donations, like someone wants to get involved. I can already think of one person who I think would love to get involved in your organization. So how does it go? How does it work with you guys?
info@diveheart.org will do everything.
Okay.
If they have a question about, hey, I want to be a volunteer. If they have a question about, hey, I'm a person with a disability that needs, wants to be part of the programs. If it's a person who needs dive equipment, if it's someone who wants to work with us on the weekends, you don't have to be a diver to volunteer with us, for sure.
And do you guys have programs all over the country?
There are programs all over the country and all over the world. I mean, and what's fun is once you're a volunteer, you can go to anywhere you want and they'll take you in. Okay. So they might not give you a room to sleep in, but they'll let you volunteer at an event.
My son and his girlfriend just became certified in October, and they love it. And they're in Florida though. They're in West Palm Beach. That's why I asked. I'm like, ooh, I bet they could do some cool
stuff.
Oh
yeah,
oh my God.
We have people in West Palm Beach doing stuff. We have people in Miami, in Tampa, St. Pete, and Key Largo, Florida. Well, Florida is a good place to go diving.
Have them watch our media kit, and people too that are struggling a little bit. Have them watch our media kit and go through some of the stories of hope and healing. And if they're still in a funk afterwards, there's something totally wrong with them, because it'll totally inspire you and stuff.
You're so right. If ever you need to pick me up, and I did this, I started donating to this charity water. It's called. It's basically like $40 a month for charity for to get clean water. I mean, it's insane in our country. You have the ability to have it everywhere on the planet, right? The fact that we still don't, it's mind-boggling to me. And with all the stuff going on, and then I broke my elbow. I'm like, all right, stop feeling sorry for yourself. But it's like, there's people that don't have drinking water. There's people that have to go to a dirty pond to drink water. This is, you're fine, right? So I started doing that. I'm like, and you watch those videos and then you get inspired about people like you guys. Same with this guy, he's like, what am I doing with my life? And he started this charity 10 years ago. And now he's not just giving people water. That's the whole point. He is showing people how to give themselves clean water and how to build things to get the filtered water so that they can live like this forever. It's not just a hand me, like, here you go. Oh, well, now I'm done with this water. What do? I don't have any. Yeah. So I love what you guys are doing. I totally admire it. I can't wait to learn more about it. And I can't wait to help you too and talk about it wherever I can. It's awesome.
It's funny you said that, because I'm a Rotarian, and water is a big, big thing right now, where we're trying to do exactly what you said. And we're working on a project with the Rotary Foundation to bring water to one of the places in Africa where, you're right. I mean, you can't take a shower, you can't drink, you have to walk an hour to get something that resembles clean water.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're like, where's the Starbucks? Just like,
yeah, I feel guilty when I leave the faucet on for a second. So I'll just put a little water in my hands and then soap up and then rinse it off real quick. I get like guilty if I like run it all. And I'm going, here we're in Chicago, we have the Great Lakes and all this.
But you're doing something about it, so you don't have anything to feel guilty about. You're already doing something about it. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, you guys. I love talking to you. And I know people are going to get inspired, and I know people are going to be able to go to your website and want to do something about it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And if you know anybody who like Tinamarie's friend who does podcasts too that hasn't done anything yet on us, please share it with other media people, because we would love to. We're all about sharing this story. That's the only way we're going to change people's lives, right?
Of course.
So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, this was fun. It was great talking to you. It was just like a coffee chat.
It was.
You guys. Okay, thanks, you guys. Thanks for listening. If you loved this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.